Welcome to the Imagine More podcast with your hosts, Abel and Nate, the podcast that discusses everything real estate and everyday life. Be sure to follow us on TikTok at Epic Investing 2 and Instagram at Imagine_Able_Nate. Now let's get on with our show. All right, welcome to episode 2. This is your host, Abel, and I'm here with Nate. Today we're going to just kind of go over today's current market, go over advantages of buying in today's market. We'll go over advantages of buying or owning a home versus renting. And just kind of go over some, like the rates and what we've seen in the last month or so. And then I have a little article that I saw on Forbes about the interest rates and stuff. So, so one of the things that we're going to talk about, like I said, advantages of buying in today's market. I've always, and I've heard this in the past, is, that a lot of people say, marry the house, date the rate, which means, buy the house while it's cheaper. And then, as rates drop, then you can go and refinance at a cheaper rate and you'll already have equity in that house. Yeah. Versus buying later when that house may be, $60,000 to $80,000 more.
Yeah, 100%.
In the next few years.
I think the problem right now we're having with buyers is they don't realize that as soon as those interest rates start dropping back to what we saw, the 4s, the 3s, the prices are going to start going up too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of buyers don't realize how much they have on the table right now when it comes to contracts. Buyers are able to ask for things like closing costs, rate buy down, which helps. There's a lot of lenders doing rate buy downs right now. Even things on like inspections and stuff, buyers have a lot more wiggle room as where they didn't 6 months ago, back when houses were flying off the market and, they had to buy houses sight unseen, no inspections, waiving everything. We're in a time where you can do all that now and it's beneficial to the buyer in many ways.
Yeah, and I mean, even let's say a year ago, I remember, offers. I mean, gosh, properties would go on the market and you would have countless offers. I mean, it was competing. It was very competitive. You could have 6-7 offers in literally within a day.
Yeah. And
so, buyers were competing with other buyers, and it made it really difficult. A lot of buyers were actually paying more for the house than what they would have. They were going into a house with absolutely zero equity.
Yeah.
Right now there's less competing offers out there.
Not to mention inventory is starting to climb a little bit too. So we're seeing more houses on the market. We're seeing them sit a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And what that does is it gives buyers a choice. As before, say a buyer's looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Man, they were flying off the market. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I had some buyers even try to put in offers without looking at the houses first. And, and those were still getting beat out by $20,000, $30,000.
Yeah.
So.
Like I said, a year ago too, you were when you had multiple offers on a house, right? I mean, the sellers were taking advantage of that. Mm-hmm. You saw a lot of those where people were saying, "Hey, I will pay so much over appraisal price."
Yep.
They were using that addendum to say, "Hey, you know what? I'll offer $60,000 over asking, but whatever the appraisal is for, I will pay up to $10,000 over." And that's just crazy. Like I said, people were just going into homes with no equity almost, which I'm sure they have equity now, but when they bought the house, usually most buyers when they buy a house, especially like right now, if they were to buy a house, you're probably most likely going to go into that house with some equity.
Yeah.
Even better if you have money to put down, right? And also with like you were saying with buyer buy downs, right? Like sellers helping buyers with interest rates or closing costs, just whatever. It really does help buyers out right now. So I know there's kind of this dilemma right now where buyers are like, it's just the market, the interest rates, but really it's never a bad time to buy, because the way I see it is houses are always going to gain value.
And historically rates are still pretty low.
Yeah.
If you look back at, and I know I hear back in the 90s when rates were at 12, Yeah, but prices were a lot lower, which granted, yeah, that was true, but 12% still 12%, no matter which way you look at it. And, us sitting in, I think we're like in the fives right now.
Yeah.
It's still historically pretty low.
Yeah, I think I looked this morning, and so rates for today for February 2nd, and this is from bankrate.com, a 30-year fixed was at 6.37, and a 15-year fixed was at 5.68.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're starting to come down. I mean, a month ago they were at 7.5, 7.8. So they've come down quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which is it's great news. It's for buyers, and even for sellers, too. You're gonna have more buyers looking to buy your house, which it's never it's a good thing for the market in general. Also, like I said, that advantages of buying or owning a home versus renting, because you see a lot of people who kind of get into that renting cycle.
Yep.
And it's honestly, I did it. I was guilty of it before I bought my house in 2013. I was renting manufactured home. I rented apartments, and it's just like, you're paying upwards of anywhere from $900 to $1,300, and this was back in 2012. Where now, it's like rent. I mean, hey, these investors who have these properties, I mean, they're going to charge you for what rent currently is.
And what a lot of people don't see is during COVID, where the landlords went through that, where their tenants didn't have to pay necessarily. So that shocked a lot of landlords. I mean, some of them ended up selling right after because they couldn't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
So rent is expected to raise again this year. To kind of offset that, and it kind of sucks for renters, but it is what it is. Those landlords, ultimately they have the final say when it comes to that rent, and you either like it and pay it, or you don't and move on. But as a renter, you are paying for somebody else's mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, are you going to pay 100% of interest rate on somebody else's mortgage, or pay a 6.3% for your own mortgage for your own home that's going to gain equity?
Which, like you said too, buy the house right now at 6.3%, and then as soon as those rates drop, if it takes a year, it takes 2 years, whatever the case, refinance.
And I know there's a lot of these lenders out there. I'm not speaking for all lenders, but I know there's some programs where if you go and refinance with them within a certain amount of time, obviously, because it costs money to refinance a house, right? I mean, the closing costs on a refinance and stuff, they'll help you towards that.
Yep.
So that's a good advantage that buyers have to buy right now, where, hey, rates dropped, okay, I'm going to refinance. That lender will kick back some money for you to say, hey, here's an advantage of refinancing with us or buying a house right now with us.
Yeah.
And that's, like I said, that's one of the advantages of buying or owning a home.
A big one for me is equity, right? Yeah. So gain equity in that house, pull that equity and use it to buy investment property.
Yep.
Become a landlord, buy a rental, buy a flip. Use the money that's in that house already to become an investor.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people don't see that. Using equity for future investments. That's a big thing, that a lot of people buy houses and think that they're just buying a house and they're gonna pay on it for 30 years until it's paid off. Not necessarily, man. No. I mean, no, it's you use that equity in your home to gain self-wealth.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it is. You're gaining self-wealth, because that home is gaining equity. Because over time, I haven't seen a house lose value. I mean, most houses, if not all houses, they gain value with time.
Yeah.
They're gonna gain value. You're gonna step into a home and say, hey, I this house that I bought for $180,000 2 years ago is now worth. I mean, for example, my house, I bought it in 2013 for, it was like $184. I think my house, I can probably, if I were to list it right now, it's probably worth over $400,000.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are advantages that buyers just don't see. They just think we're buying a house and we're just gonna live there for 30 years. And some buyers will do that. I'm not gonna sit here and say that everybody listening to this podcast is going to go out there and start investing in the properties with the equity of their home, but you have that option. Yeah. It's available to you.
Not to mention, when you're renting, you're kind of limited as what you can do to personalize a home. When you own a home, with the exception of living in an HOA, when you own your own home, you're pretty much, you have the freedom to do what you want with it.
Yep.
So that's huge for some people too, you know.
Yeah, because you can't go into a renter's property or a landlord's property and say, I'm gonna paint this wall this color and I'm gonna change out this. You know, for one, you're doing that at your own expense.
Yep.
And most landlords won't let you.
Well, and if it does actually benefit the property, increase the value of the property, if the landlord's smart, they'll have it in the rental agreement that anything that you do to alter the property stays with the property after you leave.
Exactly.
So there's those things too, where then again, you know, you're paying to make somebody else wealthier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so like I was saying, you know, the rates today, they're pretty good. 30-year fixed 6.37, 15-year was 5.68. We're also seeing lumber prices.
Yeah,
lumber prices are starting to drop, which is also a good thing for the market. You know, builders are starting to.
It might be a bad thing for those honeydew projects.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, builders are starting to kind of come down in prices of their houses, which is great, because I think that's another thing that drove the market up a lot. Was a lot of these new home builders, you know, they had to charge. They're going to make money, right? They want to make money, but prices of windows and prices of lumber was just out of this world.
Well, wasn't there like one point windows were on back order for like 3 to 6 months or something?
Oh, yeah. Yep, it was ridiculous. And so now with lumber prices dropping, you know, you're starting to see a lot of these home builders in our area come down a little bit in price.
Yep.
You know, because they can now.
Well, and they're starting to offer those incentives to whether it's closing costs, rate buy down, things like that.
Yeah.
A lot of the new home builders are starting to offer,
which is crazy, because you see that from sellers, but now builders are starting to offer stuff like that too. So, and this is kind of what I read from Forbes. So the worst may be over for mortgage rates, at least for the time being. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage is now less than double what it was a year ago. That may not sound like much, but rates climbed relentlessly last year, reaching a 20-year high of 7.08% in the fall. The steady decline in rates over the past 2 months has convinced more economists that rates could level off through early 2023, barring an economic downturn or politically fueled disruptions. Yep. So, you know, it's looking good.
Well, and I think yesterday during our brokers meeting, didn't we hear they're saying like October we should start seeing?
Yeah, probably back in the fours.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's awesome. So like I said, you know, buying now though, because I guarantee you when the rates get back to down to the fours, guess what sellers are going to want to do?
They're going to start raising those prices, man.
Yep, they're going to start raising the prices, and well, there you go. You buy the house now, you buy it for 30, 40K less or more, and in October, rates drop to 4, you go refinance, and guess what?
And that's the thing too, is buyers aren't necessarily getting a discount. You know, so because housing prices went up so much, them dropping 5-10% isn't really doing anything to the value of the house.
No.
So the value's still there. Buyers may have a little equity in it. It's like we said, it's a great time to buy right now. Obviously, we encourage people to go out, start looking, start shopping, talk with a lender. You know, sit down with a lender, see where you're at.
Yeah, give us a call. Me and Nate, we can always help you guys, you know, find a good lender in the area. Nate's number 509-750-2320. Mine's 509-989-2135. You know, we're here to help you guys. I know there's a lot of buyers who are kind of just skeptical about buying. They're kind of scared. Honestly, they're a little bit frightened of house prices, but you know, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would own a house as young as I did, but you know, I'm really glad I did.
Yeah.
It's led me to have some, you know, financial wealth. So yeah, get out there, give us a call, you know, talk to lenders and see what kind of help they can do for you.
Yeah, and they're available to talk to all the time too.
Yeah. Lenders
are looking for buyers right now, so right now is a great time to sit down, have that discussion with a lender, tell them what your goals are, what you want to do, where you want to be. And even if you're not 100% ready, they'll work with you. They'll set together a plan to get you to where you need to be so you can become a homeowner.
Yeah, and that's another thing with owning a home is you're building your credit.
Yep.
I mean, owning a home and paying that monthly payment, your credit really does, it helps with that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're at let's say a 680, credit score and you buy a home, I guarantee you within a year you're going to be well over 700. Not well over, but you'll be over 700 credit score, which, so about owning a home helps build your credit. So yeah, just, give us a call if you guys ever need help. I mean, we're here to help. Go out there, talk to lenders. I mean, we plan on bringing lenders in, so that way, you can kind of personalize with them and see what options some of these different lenders around this area have for buyers.
Yeah, and there's tons of options, whether the different loan types, the different programs they offer, things like that, all make it easier for somebody to get into a home. I think the biggest thing is just people don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And from our standpoint, start with us. Give us a call.
Yeah.
We got all the contacts, we got the information, and we walk with you through the whole thing.
Exactly.
So it's not just you doing it on your own. Yeah, there is some legwork for buyers, whether it's getting paperwork or whatever to the lenders, but we're right there with you the whole process. So
yep. Yeah, we definitely tell you, where to start. And honestly, I looking back, I think that's probably one of the hardest parts of buying a house is getting all your your check stubs and stuff to a lender, just to get started. But it's well worth it.
Yeah, I think for me, the first time I bought a house, it was just not knowing where to start.
Yeah.
I knew about real estate agents and stuff like that, but which one do I contact? Then the lender, and then how does it work? I feel like we go into it like blindly.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're trying to get rid of by having this podcast, giving the information out. So kind of make it easier for those potential first-time home buyers or investors or anybody of that sort.
All right. Well, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. This was our second episode, and we'll bring you some more content next week. But yeah, tune in. Keep tuning in. We're going to have some good information for you guys. And thank you guys for listening.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to the Imagine More podcast with Abel and Nate, the podcast that discusses everything real estate and everyday life. Remember to follow us on TikTok at EpicInvesting2 and Instagram at Imagine_Able_Nate. Be sure to tune in to our next episode. Until then, stay great.